show how the animation is done, because like for instance, if you look at the character, there's animation going this way, this way, this way, and this way.
Yeah, let's take a
And
look at the animation setup.
sure, because if we look on the player, he's just a player prefab, nothing interesting going on here other than he has a sphere collider because he's a character and he has like a rigid body. But underneath there's a quad that obviously moves because there's a parent relationship, and the player itself is just a normal quad. However, I have this special little material on it, boom boom, called the player material, and it's using a shader. I call it the sprite shader, with a texture on it, which has the like texture sheet. If I can open it up, it's like a classic, texture sheet sort of thing here.
Yep.
Which means that a way to think about it is just there's a bunch of offsets, and you just need to change the offsets in order to get the right thing. And so all this shader does, I don't know, is there an easy way for me to find a shader? Because I think someone moved stuff around to actually be in a better place than where I put it. Sprite shader here. And did it move onto the there? So yeah, it's simply just, you can put in an XYZ coordinate and then pushes it around here, like sampling it at a different point at the texture, and you can say like how big or small part of the texture it should sample. So for the actual animation, then what I have here is I have this animated sprite author, which takes in the main texture. This is mostly also just to validate that the texture of the material is the same as the texture on the sprite sheet that you put in here. And then you also have to specify manually what the grid size is of every sprite inside of it is. That's just like a constraint I put on. Then I have this array of arrays where the outer array is just all of the animation clips, and then the inner array item here is an array of all of the sprites in that animation. So like we can see here for idling, so when I'm just standing still, I'm only showing this here. Also, I don't know if I'm able to show the sprites while two coming out. Yeah, there. Yeah, okay, now it's loaded out. So now you can see it's just gonna show that one always, and well, animation number 1 is gonna be switching through that one, then that one, and then that one. Animation number 2 is gonna flip through these 3, etc. So I have an animation to pick per direction, and I could have added more animations in here. And what it bakes down to is it bakes down to 2 buffers. One buffer is just a raw set of all the sprites in order, and then the other dynamic buffer is then a offset into that raw set, as well as the count, right? So that way, if I pick animation number 0 in my dynamic buffer of animations, it will say, oh yeah, it's going to be at starting here all the way to there. And if we look here, sprite animation clip, you can see start index 0, and it's going to be 1 frame. Start index 1, it's going to be 3, which, we can see up here. It's 1 here, it's 3 here, and then it continues like that. Because we counted 3 and we already had 1, then it's 4. But next
So
start index.
That's just how it knows which basically portions of that texture to iterate, to loop over.
Exactly. And the sprite frame element buffer itself is the one that has all of the offsets on the texture.
So when it's standing still, is it technically it's looping over that one frame
exactly.
of animation, basically?
Yeah. And it's just a simple modular operation. I can show that in code later. But it's this is saying index 1, count 3. So that means looping over this one, then this one, then this one, and then it restarts to this one, right?
Yeah.
So it just switches out which like small segment of the buffer it uses.
Cool.
Yeah, and the code for that is fairly simple. I should somewhere. Man, I'm not used to everything being in folders. It's not how I normally navigate. I normally navigate like this.
Shift.
Yep. Okay, so we can see that looping over right down here. This is the entire animation system. Yeah, it simply finds the what's it called, material property, so it can change the offset,
Right.
as well as which animation is currently selected, then the buffer of sprites and the buffer of clips, and then it says, okay, well, elapsed time times 4, so every 4 seconds it should switch clip, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
No,
is it
1/4.
Yeah. So
I think it's 1/4.
the animation is basically run on a fixed step of when they update. Yeah. So
Exactly.
the animations always play at the same speed. Because I
Yes,
mean,
all
it's
animations
all
do.
just walking animations basically.
Yeah, and if we wanted all animations to be at different speeds, it would be no harder than to simply, have the animation clip say which speed
Yeah,
it needs
you just
needed
have
to
a
be.
different. Yeah.
Because I do have the animation speed here, essentially. Like I can get information about a given animation here.
Right. It's just another data
Yeah.
component.
So I'm just like picking the frame index and then picking out the right frame to draw, and then that's what I'm setting on my material. It's a very simple way to do animation, but it's very powerful
Yeah, I like
because
it.
you're essentially just switching the offset and scale.
Clean, simple approach. It's good.